What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am back with another video. Wow. This fight that was announced just a few days ago, Xander Zayas versus Boots Ennis. It seems that people can't get that fight off their mind, and me being one of them. And rightfully so. This fight is the size of the magnitude that deserves such attention, whether it's from media, fighters, reporters, promoters, managers, you name it. This fight has everything. Big props to both fighters, Xander Zayas and Jaron Boots Ennis, for putting everything on the line. Their undefeated record, both fighters in their prime. We have a former welterweight world champion who recently moved up, looking to become a two-division world champion. We have, on the other hand, we have a 23-year-old who's already unified world champion. If anything, the only unified world champion in the weight class as of right now. Looking to put his two belts on the line against what many could consider the number one fighter in the division, or the best fighter in the weight class. So, you got to give it up to them. And evidently, like I said, it seems that people can't get this fight out of their head. I've seen other fighters being interviewed by different reporters, different media. And the questions that they're being asked is who, obviously, who do they have winning the fight? Who do they have as the victor of the outcome? And what lingers here and there is basically, people are saying what favors Boots, or I've seen that most people are favoring Boots to be victorious come June 27th. And rightfully so. They have everything. They're in the right to say that, and the details are the reasons why they've been selecting Boots. You can argue against them. Boots is, like I said already in the video when this fight was just announced. Boots is a well-rounded, skilled fighter. He has a lot of guns in his arsenal. He can do it all. He's a switch hitter. He punches hard. He's got great footwork, great athleticism. He's a tremendous fighter. He's very skillful. He has a high IQ. He has great reflexes. He knows how to pick his shots very well and not load up with them. So, kudos to him. But what I was thinking of recently, and I'm sure you guys saw in the thumbnail already, was when Fernando Vargas defended his world title in a unification match against Felix Tiro Trinidad from Puerto Rico, same place where Xander Zayas is from. Fernando Vargas, like Xander Zayas, was a young fighter, was a young world champion. You can say that Fernando Vargas at that time had already maybe better names in his resume, and rightfully he did. He did have wins over I Corte, over Winky Wright, over Yori Boy Campas, Raul Marquez. He had already fought, if I'm not mistaken, 4 world champions back to back to back. And his 5th or 6th title defense, I can't recall which number correctly as of right now, was the unification against Tito. Um, he was about the same age as Xander Zayas, 22, 23 years old, when he stepped in the ring against a pound for pound fighter at that time. Could maybe be considered at that time the best fighter in the weight class. He had victories over Hector Camacho, over Yori Boy Campas, over controversial decision over Oscar de la Hoya at the welterweight division. Just like Jaron Boots Ennis, Felix Tito Trinidad was a former unified welterweight world champion. The difference here is that it was a unification match between Fernando and Tito, where Tito was the WBA world champion, and in this case with Boots, he doesn't hold the title unless you want to count the interim title that he did win. But beyond that, the comparison started to linger in my head, where Fernando Vargas at one point was a young world champion looking to unify against Felix Tito Trinidad. A lot of people say that it was that he was rushing his career, that decision was maybe a little too soon into his career. Maybe he should have seasoned a little more. He should have maybe gained momentum a little more, secure victories against other maybe common opponents of Tito, or maybe just take a little more time in his career and not be rushed into the Lions so young. And a lot of people are saying that of Xander. I've seen that, in, like I said, in different interviews from different fighters, saying that it might be too soon for Xander Zayas to be 23 years old and be rushed into a big and dangerous fight against Boots Ennis. Like I said, Boots, man, I could even consider him the best super welterweight fighter as of right now. Putting him above Sebastian Fondora, above Virgil Ortiz, simply because of his skill. It's different. It's different when you're in there against another elite level fighter, and of course, styles make fights. Just because you perform like this against certain fighters, it doesn't mean that you're gonna be able to perform the same against other fighters. So we gotta take that into consideration as well. But as far as skillful fighters go, as far as well-rounded fighters, I can say Xander Zayas is the second best. He may not have the best resume out there. You know, he may not have the opponents that Virgil Ortiz has. For example, Virgil Ortiz had tremendous victories over good fighters at the junior welterweight division. I'm sorry, at the welterweight division and at the super welterweight division when he moved up against Boachuk, against Israel Madrimov. At 147, I believe he did beat Antonio Orozco, who was a rated fighter, Brad Solomon, and other fighters that I can think of as of right now. So you can say that resume wise, maybe Virgil has fought. You know, Virgil Ortiz, for example, has fought a better competition than Xander. But if you look at the skill set of Xander and other fighters in the junior and the super welterweight division, you will see that Xander possesses better qualities than Virgil, better qualities than Sebastian Fundora, better qualities than the former IBF world champion Bakram Mutasaliev, better qualities than the current IBF junior middleweight champion Josh Kelly. I can easily rank as far as skills go. Xander Zayas right beneath Boots. You know, Boots is very athletic. He has very good reflexes. He depends a lot on his reflexes. But Xander has tremendous footwork. Xander has a great jab. Xander has great counters. He also has tremendous punch placement. Um, you know, him being a 23-year-old unified world champion, like I said, a lot of people can consider this being maybe a rushed move. Maybe that the fight should marinate a little longer. Let Xander become a little more seasoned into the game. Maybe have another title defense. Maybe unified against Josh Kelly. Get that experience once maybe a year or two have gone by. 2 years preferably. Maybe it would be a better move for Xander to fight Boots at that given time. Like I said, just like the thumbnail says, of course, history might be repeating itself where Xander Zayas could be rushed a little too soon against Boots Ennis. A lot of people are selecting Boots to come out victorious. And not just victorious, but a lot of people are selecting him to come out victorious via knockout. Whether I've seen comments on different social media platforms and maybe predictions saying, oh, I have Boots winning via knockout. I have Boots winning via knockout between round 6 and 9. A lot of people are already counting out Xander Zayas. I'm a big fan of Puerto Rican fighters. I can go back to the history of Puerto Rican boxing, and man, I've always been a big fan of Wilfredo Benitez, one of my favorite fighters of all time. Of course, I admire Wilfredo Gomez, one of my favorite fighters, of course, of recent years, Miguel Cotto, Felix Trinidad was another fighter that I enjoy watching, and we cannot forget about Hector Camacho. You know, the list goes on and on. So, man, I have a tremendous love for the Puerto Rican culture. I have a tremendous, respect for the Puerto Rican culture. I love the Puerto Rican culture. I was out there just a few months ago. It was a must vacation trip for me to visit the island where, a lot of great fighters have been produced out of. And, man, if I had to select my pick who I'm going to be rooting for to come out victorious, the odds may be stacked against him, rightfully so. He is up against, I'm gonna say, the best super welterweight fighter as of right now. Not the most accomplished, of course, given the fact that he is not a world champion, but I am gonna say the best skillful and well-rounded fighter in the super welterweight division right now. And maybe even I'm gonna say maybe even not maybe, for sure, the best fighter that Xander is yet to face, the best fighter that Xander will face up to today, up to date, and like I said, rightfully so. Jerome Boots Ennis is that guy. If he comes up victorious, I'm not gonna be surprised. But given the fact that the love that I have for the Puerto Rican culture and the respect that I have for the Puerto Rican culture, I'm gonna rock with Xander Zayas. I'm gonna root for the underdog on this one. Like I said, the odds may be stacked against him. Rightfully so, like I mentioned. Xander is gonna have his hands full. It's not gonna be a dog it's not gonna be a walk in the park for either. Whether he's the underdog, I am gonna root for him, and I am gonna cheer for him. I am gonna fly that Puerto Rican flag, and my heart, my mind, everything is gonna be with the Puerto Rican fans and with the Puerto Rican people that day. So, That's my prediction on that. That's my take on that. I know on the last video I did not fully select a side. I didn't mention who I will be rooting for, but this time around, you guys have it. I will be rooting for Xander Zayas. History may repeat itself, and it may not, or it may not. And I'm gonna root for the underdog. Like I said, I'm rooting for history not to repeat itself, and you know, Puerto Rico is gonna have the next superstar after Miguel Cotto. All right, guys, that was it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.